What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All 22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. Ray, we just did a quick little episode we'll be releasing. If you're watching this, it would be yesterday, talking about Brandon Sorsby. Super fun conversation there. I even got to slip in a little bit of a Knicks lore here being in New York. But we have something else fun planned for today, for this episode, which is doing a 25. I thought it was under 25, and I think that's what it should be, Ray. You definitely cheated. But making a list of the best young players in the NFL, because when you're listening to other people's podcasts, they're likely doing a similar thing, but only for fantasy football. And in their world, fantasy football is only wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, right? We are doing every position. That's what all 22 is about. And it's a fun list, right? It's also a fun thing to do because when you're thinking about your team, when you're thinking about player value, having those guys under 25 that are the next great players in the NFL is just about as valuable as you can get for your team. But Ray, as always, how are you?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. I could talk, unlike the last episode. Well, depending on when this is released, maybe 2 episodes ago. Got my voice back, got my mojo back. I'm ready to do this. So yes, you did 25 under 25. I did 25, 25 and under. So just kind of like rearranged it a little bit. But I mean, I didn't think, and maybe this is to my surprise, and this is a good talking point. I thought it would be tough to do straight 25 under 25. So I was like, I got to do 25 and under because there's probably just not that many cornerstone players truly under 25 in the league. And going through this exercise, I was 100% wrong. I was shocked at how many legitimately good or great players there are that are under the age of 25, like just straight under the age of 25. So yeah, that's a talking point in and of itself, but I think the league is in good hands. There's a lot of good young talent in the NFL today, some of which is just not appreciated as much as it should be.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I like doing hard things, Ray, and I think our users out there can probably figure out who some of the best 25-year-olds are, right? We wanted to do hard things so that they get something valuable from this exercise. And I feel like you just kind of failed our listeners. And for the reason, right, like you have Penny Sewell on your list, who is a 25-year-old. That dude is so freaking good that I was shocked to see that he's not number 1 on your list. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about why. But like those players that you have that aren't on my list that are already 25 years old, a lot of them are already so good, which makes it really hard to lump them in with some of these other players. And before we jump into the list, Ray, some of the things that stuck out to me, I only had 3 quarterbacks on my list, which, again, when we're talking about all 22, quarterback is the most valuable position in the game. Just like the NFL, to only have 3 guys under 25 when you're talking about cornerstone valuable players, that was surprising to me. And it really told me that quarterback may be one of those positions where until somebody really breaks out, it's hard to bet on them, right? Because so many of those guys get 3 or 4 years failing and like Justin Fields and continue to get opportunities where you don't really want to be stuck betting on a guy like that. And that's kind of why I think my list ended up with just 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, we've talked about for a couple of years now, mainly this past year, but it's a common talking point about how the NFL always has this hype for the next draft class. Well, in the next class, there's this quarterback and that quarterback. There's 5 names. You rattle off 5 names before the season starts. And then when you get around to the next NFL draft, 1, maybe 2 names are actually legit. And I think we're kind of seeing that play out in the sense of, hey, there aren't that many great young quarterbacks in the league, though. And I mean, there's some that are good and fine and kind of promising, but the list of true franchise cornerstone young quarterbacks that have proven themselves on the big stage, it's incredibly slim. So if you want to kick it off with yours, I think the best way to do this is probably just go through your list, and then I'll just like chime in there with like, well, I had this 25-year-old at this spot.
Sure.
and I mean, I think everyone else is bumped down.
looking at your list, like you definitely had some differing opinions on guys' value. So I definitely want you to contribute that as well. But also, like going back to the quarterback thing, like if you think about it, right, a draft only 3 years ago now, like Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels are already 25 years old, so they cannot be on this list, right? Or at least for me, they were not on this list. Maybe for you, they were. But there's a lot of older quarterbacks that entered the league during those COVID years, which also diluted our ability to put them on this list. But okay, let's kick it off. I'm going to go from the bottom of my list up, and I'm going to start with some honorable mentions. I have 4 guys that just missed out on my list, but I think they're fantastic players and guys I'm still very excited about. That's Brian Branch, the safety for the Lions. Just an incredible all-around toolsy player that can play as that Swiss Army knife safety. He could play nickel. He could play deep. He could come up and play in the box. Do it all. He's been such a foundational piece for the Lions. And again, they got him in the second round. Like that should have never happened. But that's how good teams become great teams. And the Lions really hit on some of those guys. I have Zach Frazier, the center for the Pittsburgh Steelers at 28. This is another guy that Ray, you and I both loved coming out of the draft. Just an overall power player that plays a really smart game. And when you talk about Steelers centers, there's some lore there, right? Like that is a position that they know how to make work. And Zach Frazier seems to be the next guy in that lineage. Quinyon Mitchell at 27, the cornerback for the Eagles. I think maybe people would disagree with me and have him higher. It's just for me, like, yes, he's been good as a pro. I just don't know if, like, I rely a little bit on my evaluation of him as a prospect. And I don't know if he's shown me enough yet as a pro to say, yeah, he's better than some of the other guys we have on this list. And then Byron Murphy, the defensive interior for the Super Bowl winning Seahawks, I have at 26, again, just missing out. He's been extremely solid for this team. I think I expected him to take off and be a little bit better immediately. I think he's going to be great, but I think it's been a little bit of a progression for him, which is normal for the defensive interior position. So definitely not out on him by any means. I just think there's still maybe a year or two before we see the best of him. And to kind of just go back even a step further, when I put this list together, Ray, I did it being not necessarily what they've been, but what I expect them to be. So my list might have a couple guys that are either really young and haven't done anything yet, or, haven't done much yet. And I expect them to be great based on what I've seen or my evaluations of them as prospects. Anything yet for you to add here?
I'm going to add a name to your honorable mention list in Darnell Wright, the tackle for the Chicago Bears. I feel like because people have talked so much about the Bears needing to upgrade their offensive line and kind of everything about the positivity around the Bears being around the skill players, Caleb Williams, the play calling, kind of lost sight of the fact that, sure, just because it's not the greatest offensive line in the league doesn't mean there's not some fantastic quality play there. Darnell Wright, a top 10 run blocker in the league at any given point in time, still in the upper half of all pass blockers at the tackle position. Grading out as a top 15 player, he's had 2 really solid, if not better than solid years in a row now in 24 and 25. He's 24.9 years old, okay? So he turns 29 or 25 in August. So he should make the cut. And so I want to give him a shout out as well. He was lower on my list in the late 20s. But again, I included some 25-year-olds in there. I think Darnell Wright deserves to be mentioned. We mentioned how he might be a fantastic guard when he was coming into the league, and perhaps he would be, but he's proven to be more than serviceable at tackle, much more than serviceable at tackle. So that's an unheralded name. And then I'll be the bad cop and just say, again, I like Brian Branch a lot, or I liked Brian Branch a lot. Tore his Achilles in December of 2025. I'm all the way out on that now. It's unfortunate, but when that happens, I take a step back, and that's why he wasn't in consideration for my original list regardless. You hope for the best, cross your fingers, but even so, I wouldn't anticipate seeing him back in that realm until 2027, when he has a lot more time to remove himself from that injury and see if he can go back to the player that he was pre-injury.
Sure. No, and that's totally fair. Darnell Wright, I'll just address, right? So again, I go back to my pre-draft kind of evaluation of the player. He's gotten into a system that is very easy for him to be good in, which, no knock on him because of that. But to me, I just think that, we don't know where he's going to end up in his career over 3 years, 4 years. Does he leave? Does he stay? Linemen typically stay. So maybe he'll be blessed with Ben Johnson offense for the next, 10 years of his career. But I didn't love his form. I didn't love the way he carried his weight. And guys like that give me injury concerns, although, he's been pretty healthy. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong on him. Ray, before I jump into my list, I do need you to address something that's pretty outlandish. You have as 25 on your list, Puka Nacua. If you're including Puka Nacua on this list, how the heck is he 25 for you?
Because he's out biting people in the offseason and stuff. I don't know what's happened to him this offseason, but he's just had off-field stuff out of nowhere. And that did creep into the evaluation. If I was starting a team right now, and I mean, am I going to take him or am I going to take Colston Loveland, who's 22 years old, a fantastic pass game weapon in his own right, but is not biting people in the offseason? I don't know. I'm probably going with Colston Loveland. So
just to be clear, you have George Pickens at 14 on your list. So I'm very confused.
Out infecting people like a zombie. He behaved himself this past year, by the way. He showed up to OTA.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he had a fantastic year. Imagine if he was getting what if George Pickens was always this good, but because, the Steelers do Steelers things.
Yeah,
he was just held back.
That's the truth. That is the case.
He might be better than Puka Nacua for all you know. I don't think that'd be the most outlandish thing.
You could be right. You also had Darnell right above him, though. Yes. Just to be clear.
I'll say one thing too, because he's not on your list. Maybe because of his listed age, but Paris Johnson is 24 years old for another 10 days or so.
Yeah.
So I
had him as 25. I left him off.
He deserved to be on this list. Yeah.
Sure. He's on your. I'm just assuming he's on your list.
He's 21 on my list.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump into mine now. Again, these are 25 players under the age of 25 years old. And at 25 for me, Ray, the linebacker for the Packers, Edgerrin Cooper. You loved him as a prospect. I liked him as a prospect, but I typically steer away from linebackers that play and rely very heavily on their athleticism. Edgerrin Cooper has come into the league and already proven to me that he's more than that, right? He can play disciplined football. He comes downhill very quickly to make hits. He hits freaking hard, Ray. And he just looks like a really solid foundational piece for a defense, and especially a young defense like the Packers have, where they need a guy like this to step up and be that leader in the clubhouse. I think Edgerrin Cooper belongs on this list. He is 25 for me. Do you want me to name 5 at a time, and then we'll talk about it?
Let's go 5 at a time, and we'll fight.
All right, we'll do that. So I have Kelvin Banks at 24, the tackle for the New Orleans Saints. Kelvin Banks looked insane in just 1 year, right? And this is an offense that we all thought was going to struggle with the young pieces that it had on the team, lack of receiving core. But guys like Kelvin Banks, even obviously Tyler Shook coming into this team, provided a different level of offense than we expected. And Kelvin Banks getting a foundational left tackle that shows a high-level skill set as a rookie is massive for that team. So very excited about that. I have Malik Nabers at 23. This one was tough for me because I think you could either have Malik Nabers way higher or you could have him way lower, right? He hasn't been playing a lot of football. His knee seems to still be an issue. He's very loud off the field. I could very much see this being he comes back and he's a top 3 receiver in the NFL. I could see this being, he doesn't really play much this year. Injuries become a whole thing for him, and he's on a different team in a couple of years, right? And somebody's just given him an opportunity. I have Mason Graham at 22. This one is more projection for me. I think he was good as a rookie, but he wasn't great, right? This is us relying on what we expected from our scouting. They also trade away Myles Garrett, I think there's going to be more opportunity for Mason Graham to get after it this year, and he has to kind of rise to the occasion, or that trade's going to look bad, right? So I think they have a great player in Mason Graham, and I believe that as well. And then at 21, I have Reuben Bain Jr., the edge rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one we're probably going to vastly disagree on, but to me, he was the best edge rusher in this class. I think he's a really strong, powerful player, and I'm very excited to see him in this defense with a very defensive-minded coach. The world is, the limit for him. I think he's going to be great.
Do you think, I won't even ask you what the Giants would do, but if you were starting a team right now, seeing what Malik Nabers, with the second cleanup surgery and the hemming and hawing and the uncertainty and the likelihood that he's not going to be available in week 1 even, would you take Malik Nabers over Carnell Tate? Like right now, if you were just offered both as is, would you really take Malik Nabers over Carnell Tate?
This is me being what I know right now. Not like I had a team doctor evaluate things. Like I don't have any of that at my disposal. I just have to make a decision.
You right now, you got to make a decision.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Carnell Tate. I think you're right, which I didn't have Carnell Tate on my list, but that's a great call out. Like probably taking Carnell Tate.
He seems to be crushing it. So I think I would also take Carnell Tate over Malik Nabers. And it's a darn shame because Malik Nabers is one of the most talented receivers to come out in a while. And I'm just not sure we're ever going to see that guy again. I'm the squeamish guy about knee injuries with these guys, but they don't always just come back the same. In fact, even when they come back and perform, they're never truly the same, period, like just regardless. And I think Malik Nabers is probably going to be on the wrong side of that ledger. I'm sure he'll be productive as an NFL wide receiver moving forward and still an asset to people, but I'm pretty down on, well, at least compared to where he was, 12 months ago. I'm not willing to invest what it takes for someone like Malik Nabers on any platform anymore, truthfully. Reuben Bain, that's your opinion of the player. I get it. That's fine. I mean, it's certainly high. I mean, David Bailey probably should be there instead, but I get it. That's your guy. That's your guy. I'm not going to continue to fight you on it. You're too hard-headed. So it is what it is. But I get the reasoning. Just a little cautious about physical outliers until we see it.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to be hard-headed until I'm proved wrong on that one. I don't have David Bailey on my list, and I didn't have Carnell Tate. I think you're right. Carnell Tate should have been on this list maybe instead of Malik Nabers. The thing is with Nabers is he was so special. He was so special and such a good athlete that I kind of wonder if even if he doesn't come back with the kind of player he was, like if you took 80% of Malik Nabers, like that was still a really good football player. And that's kind of what OBJ did for a couple of years, right? Like after his bad knee injury, he still came back and was like a good football player, a lot of up and down. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like there's a chance Malik Nabers has a couple good seasons, but constant injuries may hinder that. And when you have, like you said, when you have that kind of a knee injury, it's scary for sure. All right. So I'm going to keep going on this list. So I have Colston Loveland at 20. I want to talk about that one. We're going to come back to it. Jeremiah Love, I have at 19. Arnott, the running back for the Cardinals. Armand Membu, I have at 18, the tackle for the Jets. Membu, just again, similar to Kelvin Banks, came in as a rookie and was a foundational tackle for the Jets. That is super rare. And I think Membu, with his athleticism, the type of athleticism he has, gives me more confidence that he's going to continue this run and may ascend even further, right? I think he could ascend further than what I think Kelvin Banks can. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at 17. This feels like a knock on Gibbs, but it's just, I think we're seeing as good of a player as we've seen. I also worry a little bit of David Montgomery's not there anymore. And now is Gibbs going to be given kind of a full workload? Then health becomes a little bit of a concern for him. And I don't know if you remember with Alvin Kamara, but like he kind of had a similar thing going in the beginning of his career where it was like best running back in the NFL because he was getting a time split. he was great even after they moved on from Mark Ingram, but that's when we started to see some little injuries come up here and there where he started to miss a little bit of time. All in all, it was a great career, but again, it's like I think we saw the best of that player when he was splitting time early on in his career, and I think maybe that's the case for Gibbs too. But still, being 17 on this list is a really high rank for me. Cooper DeJean I have at 16. Again, like this was like what, the first or second highest graded cornerback in the NFL last year. I understand he's playing more nickel this upcoming season, but if that's where the NFL is going and teams are winning with that role, them putting a player that they think is going to be super effective into that role, I don't think is a knock on Cooper DeJean. So again, I really like him. I have Drake London at 15. There's an argument to be made that Drake London should be way higher here. I just don't know if he ever sees a quarterback that can really take advantage of his game, right? And that's unfortunate, but it matters, right? He's been phenomenal when he's asked to do stuff. He is the guy that does it. The only other thing I'll say is like, it seems like when he has good games, they kind of come in chunks, right? Like he'll have a game where he has 225 yards and then he'll have a game with 50 yards. So are they scheming him open more than he's really being effective? I think we'll see a little bit more of that this year with Tua. But that's my next 5. So go ahead. I might have done 6, but yeah, that's the next group.
Okay. The Jets are in a really good spot on their offensive line, man. Membu, Fashanu, Tippmann, like they've got the pieces. It's like, I know they just deconstructed pretty much their entire defense and everything else, but they're doing it the right way for when they finally get a quarterback. Imagine a quarterback now stepping in behind that offensive line with Garrett Wilson, with Omar Cooper, with Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor, Breece Hall at running back. Like, they're supporting their next guy. I know he didn't make the list, but Fashanu is another incredibly promising young tackle who's just not getting a lot of pub and traction because he hasn't really been great yet, but he's steadily improving and he's a steadying force at tackle for them, which they haven't had in a while. And yeah, I feel like they're kind of ascending at the right time to where if they can hit on that quarterback, obviously a big if, they could really be cooking with some gas here. So that I get. Tell me about Jeremiah Love. Like, because I understand that you're probably just talking about the player and not the situation so much, because we know the situation is terrible. So yeah, I guess just tell me about it, because you have numerically, arbitrarily on your list, Love closer to Gibbs than Gibbs is to, not to spoil anything, but obviously people probably figured out that Bijan is also on this list. So talk about Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, and it's close, right? Like, yes, you're right that it's closer, but they're all close together. I had mentioned when we did our kind of our rookie rank conversation where I said, if I was putting Jeremiah Love in my prospect ranking at running back, I might have him at 2 behind Bijan, right? So I still have him in this list behind Gibbs, but I think as a prospect, maybe I liked Love a little bit more. It's close, but a little bit more. He is extremely tough-nosed at the running back position, where while Genty, for example, who I don't have on this list, relies a lot on making people miss to create space. Like, yes, he's strong, and yes, he can bounce off of tacklers, but he doesn't necessarily often run through people, where Jeremiah Love does. Like, yes, he can make people miss. Yes, he can bounce off people, but he can also run through you, and he's not afraid to do that. And that works really well when you're asked to run between the tackles. This is a team that has really good outside weapons. They have Trey McBride, who should be able to open things up. So while your offensive line is not good, you at least have the weapons that will take a little bit of pressure off of you. This is another team, like, I very much expect that they'll be in a position to draft one of the top quarterbacks next year. So maybe this upcoming season is going to be hard because they don't have the quarterback to take advantage of the weapons. So the box may still be heavy. But to me, Jeremiah Love, in 2 years, 3 years down the road, we may be sitting here and saying he's the best running back in the NFL. Situation is the only thing that's holding me back from moving him even further up this list. Let's talk about Colson Loveland, though. So I have him at 20, and I even think that's low, right? When I look at this, I say that's low based on what he did last year. But the thing that I keep coming back to, and this is a really interesting thing about the tight end position, a lot of times they go on little streaks where Colson Loveland, the first half of the season, was not a huge part of that offense. Wasn't changing games the way he was the second half of the season and into the playoffs. But if you look back at, say, a Jake Ferguson, if you look back at a lot of other tight ends, there's probably a huge list, but just dive into the week by week statistics and PFF grading of tight ends. They're a little bit streaky where you might have a nice run, and then you might also have, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Colson Loveland has 8 really, really good games this year, and then 8 games where you're like, he's not even a big part of the offense. So to me, I go back to my evaluation of the prospect saying, I always thought this was a really good player. I didn't think he was an elite level player for the tight end position. So it holds it back a little bit for me. And I want to see a little bit more before I say, okay, no, he was really what those 8 games showed him to be. But do you agree with that? Do you think that's the case for Loveland, or do you already have him higher?
Well, I had him on 20 on my list also, but there's 25-year-olds ahead of him. So I guess he would have been about 14 or so. But the same thing still applies. I think that's just the tight end position in general. But I do think that kind of irons itself out with time. As tight ends spend more time in the league, they're a little bit older, they're a bit more consistent in all aspects of the game, and that just shows itself with production over time anyway. So at 22 years old, what you described is just something that I think will come around with time, even if the traditional statistics will still be streaky here or there, because again, there's lots of weapons in that offense. One week it might be a boom week for Luther Burden or Roma Dunze instead of the tight end position, and then the next week he could pop off with 114 yards and 2 touchdowns from the tight end position with Colson Loveland. So I think that's just the nature of the beast, and not necessarily an indictment of Loveland. And whatever is an indictment of Loveland on, as far as like just him as a player, that's something that does just sort of correct itself with age and time in the league. And he's just 22 years old. So it's not a concern, which I know you're not saying it's like a concern either, but that's something that I don't think will be a concern long-term as we move forward here.
Okay. And you often are pretty quiet on Cooper DeJean. So any thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's fine. Everyone in the Eagles secondary is good until it comes time to play the Cowboys, basically. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a bit of a split sometimes with people who are big fans of Quinn. They're probably big fans of both, but sometimes people tend to rate someone like Quinyon Mitchell higher than Cooper DeJean. And I think in talking about Quinyon Mitchell, it's kind of interesting because, people sometimes talk about players where they win, but it doesn't really look pretty. And it's like, oh, he's still such an effective player. He's like a brawler. He's just kind of in the right spot at the right time, or his technique. Quinyon Mitchell, it just always looks pretty. Like even when he loses, it's like, damn, but that speed turn was just freaking like immaculate. Like he's just like gliding through the field right now. Like it's incredible, but yet he's still giving up a catch. And like, so to your point earlier about why he was an honorable mention, Quinyon Mitchell is very, very good. The output is very good, but sometimes it looks even better than what it actually is with Quinyon Mitchell because he's just that type of athlete that's just poetry in motion among a whole bunch of other athletes that isolated on their own would look like poetry in motion. He's just at a different level, whereas Cooper DeJean, it's just pure effectiveness. Now, I'm in the nickel, which has a host of responsibilities in any given defense, especially in the Fangio style of defenses that they run. And he's just so effective at doing all of those jobs, the dirty work and the pretty work, so to speak, and the highlights. So, yeah, I think Cooper DeJean deserves to be up that high. But some people might be looking about, well, Quinyon Mitchell's even better. And he probably has some more upside as a pure cover player, but with what they're both asked to do, especially at this point in time, Cooper DeJean is the more effective player.
Agreed. Okay, so we're on the same page there. All right, so I did mess up and I gave you Drake London. He was 15. So I'm only going to give you 4 players right now, and then we'll do the top 10. At 14, I have Caleb Downs. This is another projection, right? He hasn't played NFL snaps yet. But when we talk about safety prospects, I don't think there's been one in recent years as good as he looks on tape, right? And he goes to a situation in Dallas where, I understand they traded away Micah Parsons, but they've slowly added a lot of talent to that defense. And I think Caleb Downs could be that piece that elevates it from being what was really bad last year. You add a few pieces and then you add Caleb Downs, and all of a sudden he goes from bad to like at least good, right? At least good. I don't know if it's going to be great, but it'll at least be good. I really like the player there. Arvell Reese, another projection, but we said it when we were reviewing the linebacker class, that if Arvell Reese was going to be a linebacker, he would likely be my linebacker 1 of the All-22 era, meaning since 2022, the highest evaluation grade I would have given to a linebacker. We all thought he was going to get drafted to play edge, and we didn't love him for that. But now knowing that he's going to be playing primarily linebacker, I do love it. I do really like it. And again, he's now going to a Giant situation where they have so much talent on that defensive front group. He should be able to play a really clean game and stay clean to be effective. So excited to see what he can do. And then I have Bijan at 12. So like I said, there wasn't a huge gap there. I have Bijan at 12. This goes to a conversation you and I had a long time ago, which was, while this group of young running backs is good, right? I don't know if any of them are on that like Hall of Fame path, right? Like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Derrick Henry. We have 3 older running backs in the NFL right now that when they came into the NFL, we were like, these guys are amazing. And they were amazing their whole careers. And right now we're standing there saying all 3 of those guys will likely be Hall of Famers. You might be able to put Kamara in that, but he wasn't seen as a prospect of that level. He was taken in the 2nd round. Bijan, coming into the NFL, was seen as a great prospect at running back, but maybe not that level. And I think so far in the NFL, he hasn't been that level. He's been really good, but has he been Hall of Fame level good? Maybe not yet, right? Maybe those years are still in front of him. Maybe he has a couple of years where he has, 1,500 to 2,000 yards in him. I just don't think we've really seen it yet. So that's why I'm a little bit lower on Bijan on this list. And then at 11, the last one I'll talk about for now is Christian Gonzalez, who, we both, like, I liked him a little bit more than you did, but we were both not necessarily thinking he was an elite player. And he's proved us wrong, right? Like, he was the foundational piece of that Patriots defense that allowed them to get to the Super Bowl. He was amazing. I think that he's in the argument now as CB1 in the NFL. I don't think he is. He might be CB3 for me, maybe 3 to 5. But we're talking about a guy that for a cover corner can play the position as well as anybody. So he just missed out on my top 10 because, again, when I'm talking about guys that I see as potentially Hall of Fame level players, I'm not sure Christian Gonzalez is quite there for me, although like another year like he just had, and I'm going to start really having that conversation.
So just to support a little bit, right? I mean, for the most part, we're in agreement on all these. Caleb Downs goes back to what we just kind of talked about with Cooper DeJean. Now that the Cowboys have Christian Parker, Caleb Downs is going to be kind of in a similar, or asked to do similar things as far as like a do-it-all type of player that Cooper DeJean was over in Philadelphia. Bijan, yeah, I get it. He's like right on the cusp. I might be a little more bullish on his trajectory as you. I'm not calling him a Hall of Famer yet, but he's right there. He's right there, I will say. But I have a question for you, Chris. Who would you take right now between Christian Gonzalez and Sauce Gardner? Just for this year, even just for like the next 2 years. 2 years.
So is this me taking a player to start a team with, or is this me taking
just for the next 2 years?
All 22, saying I'm taking Christian Gonzalez on the Patriots or Sauce Gardner on the Colts? Do you understand the difference?
You're starting a team for the next 2 years. You're starting a team for the next 2 years.
They're playing for me.
Yeah.
Listen, man, like Sauce is probably my favorite corner in the NFL, but he was outplayed by Christian Gonzalez last year, like handedly, right? But this is a very variable position where I'm going to stick to my guns and take Sauce because I think physically he is the more imposing corner that has the chance for longevity. I think Christian Gonzalez, because of his frame, may deal with more injuries throughout his career.
And he's dealt with some. Sauce did too as soon as he got traded to the Colts or whatever. But because I don't know if you saw the news a few days ago, but apparently Sauce Gardner's 24 now. Like everyone thought he was 25, but now he's 24. Did you see that?
No, I thought he was 25.
He was just like being interviewed. He was like, yeah, I was actually born in 2001, not 2000. So I don't know why everybody thinks I'm 25. Like my paperwork says I was born in 2001. And so he just like got a year younger overnight. Like he's young now. So if his listed age was correct, I imagine he would have made this list probably right around this spot, around the top 10. So I figured I'd mention that because someone probably saw that story on Pro Football Talk and wherever else it was published. But Sauce Gardner might be 24 now, guys. So, yes.
That's insane. I did not know that. And yes. He would definitely be – he'd be a little bit higher, right? Like I said, he is my guy. I'd probably put him a little bit higher. But that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and I still don't know my answer to this question because I think it's Sauce, but I also kind of wonder, like, the big frame, the length, like, I don't know, like, is Christian Gonzalez going to age kind of better? Because the best we saw from Christian Gonzalez was the most recent Christian Gonzalez we saw. He's literally saved his best games for the play. I mean, and this is someone who's 22-ish years old, maybe he's 23 now. So like he's getting better, whereas Sauce like might be at his peak, and that's not a detriment at all. Like now he's maybe just 24, so maybe he's not at his peak, but Sauce might be a little bit closer to the top of that bell curve, whereas there may be a little bit more left for Christian Gonzalez. So I'm not sure who I take between the two. They're neck and neck for me. But yeah, Sauce is 24. Christian Gonzalez looks like Hunter, if you know, you know. So like, I'm not sure which one I take, but I figured they would be very close by on these lists if Sauce were included.
And hey, like I get that Sauce is also incredibly fast, but Christian Gonzalez's speed is such a key element to his game, where it goes back to what I said, where it's like he's kind of slight. If there is injury concerns, he relies really heavily on speed. That makes me a little bit more nervous. But again, you're splitting hairs between two, like maybe two of the top 5 corners in the NFL. Yeah, probably 2 of the top 5 corners in the NFL. All right, we're going to do my 10 through 6. Okay, so I have Joe Alt at 10. That one's going to come as a surprise to some people, but I think this list was very light on offensive linemen. And that's not a knock on the prospects that have come through. It's just extremely hard to be good as a young player on the offensive line. It takes time to get to that level. Joe Alt is somebody that didn't need time. He was a prospect that I loved. He got the elite tag. He's in my mind on that. He has the skills to be a Hall of Famer, and he showed up and he proved that he was that good from day one. So obviously the injury thing last year was a big concern, but if this guy stays healthy, there's no reason for me not to expect him to go higher on this list and just to be good for a very, very long time. So I have him at 10. I have Brock Bowers at 9. Surprised he's not my tight end 1 on this list. I think Brock Bowers is awesome. He is the best receiving tight end potentially we've ever seen. But at the same time, I think there's limitations to what he can be as a blocker, although he is a willing blocker. And I also worry about the offense he's a part of, right? And the team that he's a part of. Yes, Mendoza's there. Hopefully it gets better, but the offensive line is bad. The coaching hasn't proved to be good yet. I want to see it all come together for Bowers so that he can continue to escalate. I also think for him, right, like injury concerns for him, is this going to be a guy that's often on the injury list? I hope not, but so far it's kind of been that way. But again, like I'm talking about guys that I think are on that Hall of Fame trajectory, and Bowers is one of them. I have CJ Stroud, the first of my quarterbacks on this list. I have him at 8. CJ Stroud has had the worst football that he's played recently, which is a major concern of mine. But I also think this is a team that's done absolutely everything to make his job hard. This is a guy that came into the league with decent receivers, offensive linemen, And what do? But they trade away their star left tackle. They get rid of their receivers, and they've been trying to rebuild it slowly through the draft. And I can't say they've done a bad job of that, but he has no proven weapons on either the receiving core or the offensive line. And I don't expect him to be able to get back to the level that I think he is until they fix some of that. So again, quarterbacks can play for 20 years. So I think CJ Stroud is on this list and where he is because I believe in the player and I think he'll outlast the concerns I have with Houston's offense. So he is 8 for me. I have Tyler Warren at 7, the last tight end of mine on this group. Tyler Warren is the best all-around tight end in football. From a pure prospect perspective, I expect him to achieve that this year. I think he bypasses George Kittle and Travis Kelce and Trey McBride this year because I think he's that talented. He was the entire Penn State offense. I'm just going to say it, Ray. I think he was the entire Colts offense last year. This is a guy that can do it all. He's the best blocking tight end on this list. He is, again, Brock Bowers is the best receiving tight end. I don't think Tyler Warren's that far behind him. So I have him as a better overall prospect, and I think he'll exceed that. Then the last one before we get into my top 5 is Travis Hunter. I have at 6. I understand the injury last year is really scary. They were playing them both ways. We didn't think that was a good idea at the time. I don't think that's a good idea now. I think they realize that, and he is no longer going to be playing both ways every down. This is going to be a cornerback. And if you go back to us talking about the cornerbacks during Travis Hunter's draft profile conversations, we talked about that he is likely cornerback 1 of the All-22 era. Now that he gets to focus on being a cornerback, I think that he's going to be the best cornerback in the NFL quickly. And again, we have incredible Sauce Gardner and Christian Gonzalez conversations. Travis Hunter is more skilled at the position than anyone I've ever seen in the last 10 years do it. Okay. So I don't think there's limitations to what he can be. And again, if they play him at cornerback, to me, there's no reason to doubt anything about Travis Hunter.
Wow. Okay. I have a couple questions here. What if CJ Stroud is just not that good? People are probably yelling at you he's had Nico Collins. What if he's just not good? What if he just had a really great year in the typical sort of wide zone play action, Shanahan, McVay type tree under Bobby Slowick when he first came in the league. And now that that's not there anymore, what if he's just not that good? Because people say, well, he kind of performed pretty well to end last year, but did he really? Or was he just playing against the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the corpse of the Colts in the last month of the season? What if he's just not good? And he's just living off of that 2023 season. What if?
Yeah. I think it's valid, but we're talking about when we talk about the quarterback position, the other quarterbacks, right? It's Cam Ward, it's Jaxon Dart, it's Mendoza are the quarter and Shook. Those are the quarterbacks, and actually Shook maybe 25.
I think he's out. He's out.
Yeah, he's already out. There are not that many quarterbacks under 25 that we even could consider for this list, okay? CJ Stroud has shown us that he can play at a high level. And again, I go back to it, Ray. Name me his 5 starting linemen. Can you do it?
Yeah. What do you have? Fisher, Scruggs, Howard probably still had some time in there. There's fine.
It's
fine.
Bad. It's bad, right?
So it's his division.
It's significantly bad. The receivers, yes, you hit on Nico Collins. Tell me when Nico Collins was drafted. Not saying anything about Nico Collins being bad. Nico Collins is awesome.
The third rounder.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not like they've put resources into the receiving position where we're Nico Collins was a first-round pick. He was supposed to be great. Is there an argument that CJ Stroud is raising Nico Collins to where he is? And again,
no. I'll let you go.
All right. I'm just saying, this could be a situation where if you look at the Packers, if you look at the 49ers, where, yes, the offensive line is also not good. yes, they haven't put a lot of resources into the receiver position until recently. Both teams kind of did. But why are those teams more effective, right? It's because they have two of the best damn head coaches in the NFL, right? Houston is not going to attract that, unfortunately, right? I think they have a fine head coach, but he is not an offensive mastermind head coach. And unfortunately for CJ Stroud, while he is in Houston, that'll likely never be there. So very well, it could be that CJ Stroud sees his career peak somewhere else. And I wouldn't be upset for CJ Stroud if that happens, right? We're seeing it with Sam Darnold, who just won a Super Bowl. Like, that happens. But I believe in the player. I believe in the skill set, right? I go back to my evaluation where I was like, he's big, he's strong, he can throw the ball super far, he's incredibly accurate. But what's missing? What's missing? And it's like, oh, turns out like I was looking for something to be missing, but like this is just an all-around really good quarterback. I think a lot of teams would be very happy to have CJ Stroud.
I don't know, man. I think he might just not deserve to be on this. It's like, oh, the coach failed him. Like, okay, Dak Prescott had to deal with Jason Garrett. Like, he still looked a lot better than this.
He also had like 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen on his team when he was young.
When he was young, yeah, but not when he was.
CJ Stroud is young.
When he was peak Prescott, still like 25 years old. Like that offensive line was only like a year and a half of Dak Prescott. Like, and I
don't think that's true.
By 2018, those guys were done. By 2018, there was no more Leary. Tyron Smith was missing like 75% of games. Travis Frederick had the Guillain-Barré syndrome, and he was gone. Like,
was that 2018? Like, I feel like he had like 4 to 5 years with those guys.
It just feels that way because he actually elevated the people around him.
So.
Like,
but yeah, I mean, on top of that, again, it's like, all right, so you're saying
maybe not. Frederick was 2020, but he's.
Thank you.
No, I was right. It cost him the 2018 season. He came back in 2019 and then had to retire in 2020. So he was never the same. So he did miss 2018.
Anyway, You're basically saying, all right, so CJ Stroud career so far compared to Dak Prescott's, it's like, yeah, Dak Prescott had 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen up to this point of his career that CJ Stroud had. Also, Dak Prescott was like probably a couple years older than CJ Stroud as a rookie.
He was 23. But like here's
CJ Stroud was like 20.
Yeah, but there's also a missing point of the equation though. Like a defense does make it easier for a quarterback. Like you don't have to score.
Not for them to perform. It helps them win games, but like it's not like CJ Stroud is so much easier.
42 points a game. Like you can play within yourself and not make mistakes, and like it's easy for you. Whereas like Dak Prescott had to, if he punts twice, it's over. It's over. Like there's a different level of pressure when it comes to that, and you have to start pressing in that situation, which isn't conducive either. I'm just like, you want to believe in CJ.
Do you remember?
Fine, but you have him over Christian Gonzalez.
Like, I do. Do you remember the conversation when the Cowboys drafted Dak and Dak started playing well? And it was, the perfect blueprint for drafting your quarterback. Have 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen, have a star running back, have good receivers, and then get your quarterback. And it doesn't matter if you get him in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, because if you insert a guy into that, he will be successful. CJ Stroud went to a terrible situation, and they traded away the best player on his team in Laramie Tunsil. Like, again, they've made it so hard for him to be successful. And I get that I put him above guys that I'm saying potentially are Hall of Famers, but it's quarterback. Okay. It's quarterback. It is so much more important than everything else. It just really is.
Okay. I'm just saying, if you're a quarterback and your defense has Leon McFadden covering Antonio Brown, you got to go out there and you got to like score some points. You can't just be like, I'm just going to, get a couple first downs and win the field position battle here. Like, it's different. It's tough.
Do you think Nico Collins is as good as Dez Bryant was? No.
By that time? It's not that similar.
Come on.
And he plays in a dome. It's nice and freaking air conditioned, and like it's perfect temperature. Like, come on.
And like think about it, that all 5 offensive linemen,
like, they have to play in the NFC East. Like, it's cold up there.
All offensive linemen on the Texans would not start at any position for the Cowboys when Dak started his career. None of them would.
But that was 1 year. That was like 1 year,
it wasn't
bro.
1 year.
And then it
was like
apart. fell apart fast.
How long? When was Dak's rookie year?
Like, do you remember? Hold on one second. I'm gonna because you could Google something here that's
Dak's rookie year. That'd be great.
No. Like Dak's rookie year was 2016. But,
okay, so he had 3 years with 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen.
No, because Frederick was already gone in 2018. He was out for the year, and Tyron Smith missed a whole bunch of games.
Okay,
yeah, like I don't.
So
even,
he still had
the,
3 years with those players all being there.
Okay. Here's you keep saying this. No. Okay, do you not understand that Dak Prescott was sacked 6 times by the same player in one game in 2017? Like that whole offensive line mystique was 1 year. It was 1 year.
It wasn't 1 year. You're so full of it, dude.
It was,
and not only was it okay, but also like they've continuously put tons of resources into that offensive line.
Sure. They have, and then they had Jason Garrett and like Bill Callahan running the offense for a while, and it was like,
I get it. Yeah. The offensive coordinators haven't been great, but the offensive line has been. And again, you just said that he's had for those 3 years, he had 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen for at least
3 months than 3 years.
Oh my God.
The
CJ Stroud has been in the NFL for 3 years. That's my point.
Do you not remember that game last year where the Texans defense like scored twice and still almost lost because Stroud could do like nothing? Like,
yes,
at some point, if you're at the level to be like in the top 25 under 25, I just need to see you a couple times a game. This
might be a low blow.
This might be a low blow. Back and make it happen. This
may be a low blow, but tell me how many times Dak did that by the time he was 25. Goose.
It's not a goose. No. He went toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. He threw for like 300 something yards, like games? 4 touchdowns. It's not his fault that the defense again gave up a 3rd and 26 to Jermichael Finley for a game-losing field goal. Would
you like to address anybody else that I've listed in that list, or have you forgotten them all?
No. I'm looking at the list. Tyler Warren, yeah, he's great. Travis Hunter, yes. I'm also worried about the injury, but we love Travis Hunter. That's fine. I do think there's a possibility that even though you could be right about Tyler Warren, that you look wrong because the offenses in general are just better run in even Vegas for Brock Bowers or Chicago with Colston Loveland, because, if Mendoza turns out to be able to run the offense much more effectively than a Daniel Jones coming off of an Achilles injury or something, that could be a big hindrance to Tyler Warren for as good as he is. And so you could be right, but look wrong just as a result of circumstance. But I don't disagree with the premise of the ranking.
Listen, man, you just got to go on your whole, like, I'm a Cowboys fan thing and I'm a victim. Like, I've never once bashed Dak. I like Dak, and you had to be a victim.
Has to grab out of him, dude. You went
think
hard
about
on Dak for no reason.
I think that there's a possibility that first-year head coaches have a bit of an advantage and outperform their true ability. Okay, I think it's been done quite a few times in recent history where new head coach has a really good first season, second season, third season aren't as good. There is a chance that the Bears offense doesn't look like the juggernaut that it was. Okay. There's a chance. There's a chance, right? I think Luther Burden is awesome. I think, who's the other receiver they have?
Rome, your boy Rome.
I think Rome is awesome. Like, they have mouths to feed too. So it's not like Colston Loveland is the vocal point of the offense. I think that he's going to be a big part of it, but he's not the vocal point. And again, I think potentially that team comes a little bit down to earth. That team's awesome. I think they're going to be good. But are they going to be in the NFC Championship next year good? I don't think so.
Okay, hot take.
All right. You like that take? All right, let's go into my top 5 now. At 5, I have another major projection. I have Abdul Carter at 5, the edge rusher for the New York Giants. I have Jaxon Smith-Njigba at 4. People are probably going to hate me on that one. Let's talk about it. Then I have Drake Maye at 3. And this should be a conversation, but I have Drake Maye at 3, the quarterback of the Super Bowl contestants, New England Patriots. I have Will Anderson Jr., the edge rusher for the Houston Texans at 2, and I have Caleb Williams, the quarterback, that I just bashed the Chicago Bears at 1 on this list. Ray, where do you want to start, bud?
Okay, I'm just going to start from the bottom up, and I'm going to defend you because people might be yelling at you for Abdul Carter, okay? Abdul Carter led the entire league last year with 48 quick pressures. That's pressures in under 2.5 seconds. That was more than Myles Garrett, and he was a rookie last year on a team that lost a lot of games and didn't have teams just, being forced to drop back and pass to try to come back in games. So for Abdul Carter to have 66 pressures like that as a rookie, 48 quick pressures, 66 total pressures is incredible. I think people aren't talking enough about how good he is. He's a clear tier above the edge rushers in this past draft class of 2026, and people aren't talking about him enough. So I don't have any qualms about Abdul Carter being 5th on this list.
Before you continue, let's talk about that for a second, because if you remember a conversation you and I had about usage early on in the Giants season, the Giants were using Abdul Carter in a really weird way. And I kept saying the Packers are doing something with Micah Parsons that the Giants literally could just replicate. And I think Abdul Carter would have had tremendous success. Coaches get fired. John Harbaugh goes in there, and when you talk about a coach that knows how to use edge rushers, think about the success of the edge rushers that the Ravens have had over the last 5 to 10 years with terrible draft pedigrees, right? Like guys that have come up year after year and crushed it for the Ravens. And then the Ravens let them walk, right? And somebody gives them a huge contract, and that edge rusher comes all the way back to earth. What happens when you give that coach Abdul Carter, right? Like, I am very, very excited to see what becomes of Abdul Carter this year in this defense with the new head coach. Because again, I think we could be talking a year from now about a top 3 to 5 edge rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, it's in there. I mean, he was drafted that highly for a reason, and he showed why. Just, you didn't sack the. Okay, he still had the most. Just keep getting quick pressures, and you watch how that wreaks havoc on your opponent, and eventually.
But they also didn't give him enough opportunities to do that, and there wasn't as many opportunities. So, what happens when they give him opportunities?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm with you there. People want to yell about that. They would be incorrect on that objectively. So I'm good there. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, I feel like it's self-explanatory at this point. I don't understand why anyone do you think he should be higher? Sure. In a vacuum, he's a better player than Drake Maye, I guess, but yeah, I assume there's some position value of quarterback being in there. And the fact that quarterback is a tough position to play. And it's not like Drake Maye was surrounded by 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen and all this other stuff. You mentioned that quarterbacks need to be successful when they're young. Drake Maye legitimately took a not talented roster, no matter how easy you think the road in the playoffs was for them. It's not like they were a juggernaut to their opponents either. So he still won the games and ran the offense effectively and used his legs when he had to. He wasn't overly reliant on his legs like some other young quarterbacks tend to be and are. Some quarterbacks that probably got more hype than him early on too, like a Jaden Daniels. No, Drake Maye played a better, more, maybe not better because that's subjective, but a more sort of efficient, scalable brand of quarterback than many other mobile young quarterbacks in the league. And I think that's a big reason why they went as far as they did, despite anything else in New England, is because of how Drake Maye played the position. So yes, Jaxon Smith-Njigba is a better player at his position than Drake Maye is at his right now. But you bring in value and everything else and impact. I could see why Drake Maye is higher. And people need to realize Drake Maye is still really freaking good and probably should be respected more for what he did, which is an odd thing to say for a team who went to the Super Bowl and he played for them as a 22, 23-year-old quarterback, albeit in a loss. So yeah, I have no qualms about that order.
Let's unpack some of that. So Yes, people I think could argue that Jaxon Smith-Njigba is already a top 3 player at his position in the NFL. And so he should be higher than some of the guys we named above him. But I still kind of stand by my argument that while he had an amazing season, like, are you taking him above Jamar Chase? Are you taking him above Justin Jefferson? Are you taking him above, like, I feel like, at least personally, I could name 10 receivers that I would probably take above Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Maybe 10's a bit steep.
Wait, 10 above Njigba? 10? Damn, that's
Maybe.
a lot. Maybe
Is
5.
that a lot?
Maybe. That's a lot.
I don't know. So, like, I think that we see the best version of him that we're going to see. Like, I think this is it, right? Like, this is great. It's awesome. But I don't think there's more there. And I think that's just what I'm thinking about. And I'm going to go check out the receivers. And, like, all right, so, like, you might not, but I would take Puka above him. I would take Jamar Chase above him. I would take Amon-Ra above him. I'd take Jefferson above him. I know that it's looking a little funky right now, but I personally, I'd take CD above him. I would take Pickens above him right now. So maybe it's 6.
I don't know, man.
Maybe it's 6. And I understand some of those were debatable, but, like, I feel pretty good that I would take 6 guys above him.
Remember what I said about Quinyon Mitchell, and it just looks so pretty even when he, like, gets beat?
Yeah.
Jaxon Smith-Njigba, it doesn't always look pretty. I mean, it kind of does look pretty, but, like, it also looks really pretty with, like, CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase when they do their thing. It doesn't feel as dominant when Jaxon Smith-Njigba does it, but, like, you can't stop. But, like, when he makes that catch along the sideline where, like, you literally lose the ball on your TV screen because there's just no air. There's no oxygen between the sideline, the defender, and his body, and he somehow comes up with the ball. Like, okay, you know what? You know who Jaxon Smith-Njigba is like?
Who's he?
He's like Jalen Brunson. Everybody's better than Jaxon Smith-Njigba until it's time to be better than Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and then he just comes up big over and over again. Like, that's how it is. You look at him and you're like, well, look at Tyrese Maxey when he's going into the hole, like, he's just a blur. Like, nice, this guard's better than him. Maxey was all NBA. This, he's he's not as fast as this guy. He's not as dominant on. But then when it comes time to actually play the game, who shows up? That might be it. I think Jaxon Smith-Njigba might just be Jalen Brunson, but he won the championships. We should get his credit. Like, now I'm going to give him his credit and say, no, I'm going to take him above those guys because he did it. He did it, and he was a huge part of it. And it's just hard for us to comprehend because it doesn't look the way it should or the way the other guys look when they make it happen. But he's Jalen Brunson.
Part of it is also the physicality of the player, right? Like, me personally, you look at Puka, who's 6'2", 216. You look at Jamar Chase, 6 feet, 205. Amon-Ra, 6 feet, 202. CeeDee Lamb is 6'2", 198. Like, they're a bit bigger than 6 foot, 197 pound Jaxon Smith-Njigba. And for some reason, when they put pads on, he looks even smaller. And I think that's part of it too, where I look at him and I go, yeah, are we sure this is the top 3 receiver in the NFL? Like, are we sure? And like you said, maybe it's Jalen Brunson, where kind of do the same thing when you look at him. But again, if I'm starting a team today and I have to take a guy for the next 3 to 5 years, I'm probably not George Pickens because of the personality stuff, but I think I'm taking the other 5 guys above him, and I'm feeling pretty good about that.
It's hard to say that there's a wrong answer in the group, honestly. So, like,
are you taking him above Justin Jefferson for 3 years?
Removing age for 3 years, maybe. For a year, probably not. Maybe not.
For 3 years.
But for 3, I'm taking Njigba. Jefferson's 27. I mean, he's going to be closing on 30 by the end of that runway there.
Okay. Are you taking him over Amon-Ra?
Yes.
Really? That was quick.
I think he's more scheme versatile. Yes. I would take him over Amon-Ra.
That's fair. That is fair. Are you taking him over CD? Who's also 27, so you can't go against that argument now.
I think he's a younger 20. I don't know if he's younger than
He's not. He's older.
Now no, I guess I gotta take Smith-Njigba then.
Okay. So then
it's 3 years. I'm taking Smith-Njigba. Yeah.
You already said that you'd take him over Puka because you had Puka way lower on your list. So then it's really just Or are you taking him over Jamar Chase?
I'd probably take Chase over him. Yeah.
So
I think Chase
you have
is
him
the
as
most,
the number 2.
Yeah. I think Chase is the most dominant receiver in the NFL when he's on his game. So it's hard for me to take someone over him. But yeah, outside of that, man, I think JSN might be the answer.
All right. Well, then it takes me Drake Maye. You already talked a bit about Drake Maye. Again, this is about what I think these players will become. Drake Maye had a great season, even if he had easy competition. Guess what? He's going to have easy competition again this year because he plays the Jets and Dolphins twice. So, like, it's not like he has a super hard conference. There's going to be a lot of layup games. I think the team is doing a lot of really good things in the draft and in free agency to make his situation better. Do I like them getting A.J. Brown? No. But no excuses now, right? Like, there's literally no excuses. Let's see if he takes that step up. I mean, if you had to bet on anyone besides who I have at number 1 to do that, I think it's Drake Maye. I think, and you compared him to Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is older already, so like he's aged out of this conversation. Jaden Daniels' situation is likely getting worse, not better, and Drake Maye's is getting better, not worse. So it's a bit of a hard debate. I probably would take Drake Maye over Jaden Daniels as well. Then Will Anderson Jr., buddy, like, we're talking about a guy that's already a top 3 edge rusher in the NFL, maybe top 5, definitely, right? When Nick Bosa wasn't healthy this year, so like you probably, you put him above him, you put him above other guys. We might have a top 3 edge rusher under 25 years old already in Houston. I mean, it just doesn't really get much better than that.
I would take him over 3 years. Okay. 3 years. I'm taking him over Myles Garrett. I'm taking him over Micah Parsons. I'm taking him over everybody else. If I had to pick one defensive end or one edge rusher to start on my team right now, it's Anderson. And pre-injury, it was probably Micah Parsons, but post-injury, it's Will Anderson. I'm not sure it's particularly close with anyone else. I think he's just that damn dominant. He's
not even
that
Ruben
good.
Bain.
Shut up, Ruben Bain. Let's talk about your number 1.
Well, no, because real quick, because I have to ask the question. You're starting a team today. You're on the clock. Will Anderson Jr. and Jaxon Smith-Njigba are on the clock. Who are you taking?
Anderson. I'm taking Will Anderson.
Me too. Yeah. Okay, so we're on the same page. That's what I think some people would argue, right? One of them won a Super Bowl. One of them didn't. I don't think that's a great argument, but people would make that argument. Okay, number 1 on my list, Caleb Williams. So I guess I'll give you a little bit of my thought process, and then you could tell me if I'm right or wrong and what you think. But last year, again, Caleb Williams is super young. Like this is a young quarterback in the NFL playing extremely competitive football, similar to what Drake Maye had to do last year. But he played in the NFC, which is way harder. Like, it was an extremely hard matchup every single week of those playoffs. And one thing that people kind of harp on with Caleb is he makes too many mistakes. He turns the ball over too much, and he's inconsistent with his accuracy, which is all true. But what they don't talk about is that this is the player that had the most fourth quarter or overtime comebacks of any player in the NFL last year. And to do that at, 23, 24 years old? He was probably 23 last year. To do that at 23 is special, right? It's special. And again, I talked about before, I think the Bears regress slightly this year, but I don't think Caleb regresses. I think the arguments change, right? I think people are going to be like, oh, Caleb got more accurate. He got more consistent. He started making less mistakes. But maybe there's going to be less of those fourth quarter comebacks because, again, maybe the scheme gets figured out a little bit more and it's a little bit harder to fool people for Ben Johnson because they had a whole offseason to study him. That's kind of my thoughts. I don't think there's a young quarterback I would take in the NFL over Caleb Williams. And there's not many quarterbacks in the NFL I would take over Caleb Williams for the foreseeable future. There's probably 5.
Yeah. I think he's the clear number 1. When we broke him down as a prospect, there were certain elements of his game that resembled Aaron Rodgers. Now, there were other elements of his game that resembled Brett Favre, both good and bad. And I think what made Aaron Rodgers so great, one of the greatest to ever play this game, was the fact that he did not have much of the bad that Brett Favre had, while still to be such a talented thrower of the football and hardly ever put it in harm's way like Rodgers did is just unbelievable. Williams has that upside, but he puts the ball in harm's way like a Favre. Part of that is what makes him great. Sometimes he gets away with it. Sometimes he doesn't. As a young player, you hope that'll eventually improve. I don't think it'll ever get to the point where he's like Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 picks a season. And if he ever throws more than 5, it's like, whoa, what happened here? He threw more than 5 picks a year. Like, he's not that. I don't think he ever reaches that upper echelon because hardly anyone does. Maybe 6 people in the history of the league ever did that. But there are parts of games where he becomes Aaron Rodgers, but with young 23-year-old athletic legs and a baller offensive scheme. And when that's humming, it is nearly impossible to stop. So to have that in a young quarterback is first of all rare. To have that while the young quarterback is still on his rookie deal is just exceptional. I think the Bears have to take advantage of that. I think they're kind of building their way into taking advantage of that. And they're getting better with each offseason. I think Caleb Williams is the clear number 1 player in the NFL under the age of 25 to build your franchise around. And I don't think it's particularly close for as good as so many of these other names are. He can just do things that others physically cannot. And once he rounds out those rough edges in his game, it's curtains for a lot of people in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's going to be scary. I'm excited to see what Mendoza becomes. I'm excited to see what Jaxon Dart becomes, Cam Ward becomes, because we may be coming back to this conversation in a year and saying there are more quarterbacks for us to talk about. Ty Simpson, probably not, but you never know. And, and that's kind of the beauty of the quarterback position, that it is the hardest thing to do in sports from a mental perspective, matched with the physicality of it, right? And this is a very physical game. And you're never going to look that good when you're young, right? CJ Stroud did, Baker Mayfield did, maybe a couple of Dak did, right? It's very rare. That's 3 instances in 10 years that we had a guy step in as a rookie and look like a pro. It takes time. So what Caleb Williams can become, what Drake Maye can become, Cam Ward, Mendoza, Dart, Simpson, it's going to be so much fun. And then we have next year's quarterback class, which I'm very excited to get into at some point with you as well. Maybe we'll do a kind of an early review of that class at some point, just because it's fun, right? It's fun and promising for the future of the NFL to have this young talent. But everybody, we've been going for an hour and 13 minutes. Thank you for tuning in today. Like and subscribe. Give the YouTube channel a little comment. Tell us what you hated. Tell us what you liked. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that disagree and think Drake Maye is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams. Let us know. I'll argue with you on YouTube. Ray will definitely argue with you on YouTube. And then give us a review wherever you're watching, listening, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF. And then have a great rest of your day.